I've learned that those premium clients, the people who do have that budget and the people who are, when their priority is quality, when their priority is experience, when their priority is ROI, and they are not interested in chasing their service provider down, they are not interested in paying their team to follow up, they are not interested in just having copy turned over at the end of the day, and they need a high level partner, they are looking for an expert, a strategist. They are not typing in copywriter in Instagram, and they are looking for somebody who has a degree of authority and credibility attached to their name. Sometimes that comes in the form of referrals, sometimes that comes in the form of logos and media platforms.
Woohoo! I am so excited for today's episode because I have my friend and personal copywriter, Brittany McBean, on the show. If you've ever wondered about what sales tactics are sleazy or what things to look out for and what ethical copywriting and ethical marketing really means, this episode is for you. Welcome to the show, Brittany.
Yay! Thanks for having me.
I love watching you work, Brittany, because it's literally watching like a bird fly or like a cheetah jump. I feel like you're truly in your zone of genius, and I feel that way when I work with you. It's like your brain just like it just starts to work, and you apply that in copy. So for the listeners who don't really understand kind of where marketing is heading, like can you define for us what ethical marketing even means?
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I mean, I have to pause even just hearing that. Like I get emotional hearing you say that, not to make this like the Britney show, but I'm 35 and for most of my life, I was the person who at every parent teacher conference, the teachers were telling my parents like she just doesn't live up to her potential, which is what the fuck does that mean? Like you can't measure potential. Like that is an unattainable goal, right? But like I was diagnosed with ADHD at 34, so last year. And so it's one of those, Einstein said, like, I think it was Einstein who said, if you measure a fish by their ability to climb a tree, like that kind of bullshit, right? Like, I have felt stupid, unworthy, dumb, all of these things my whole life. But then you find the thing you're good at and you're like, I'm really fucking good at this. Like, I'm really fucking smart. But not having had that experience until I found this. And so thank you for saying that. But also, like, I say that because I'm hoping that you feel that way. I'm hoping your listeners feel that way. I'm hoping that other people can like feel that and say that, like, okay, I couldn't climb a tree, but like I'm fucking swimming like a shark now, right? So what I do as a copywriter, I think copywriters are just quite simply sales people with words. Like we just use words to make sales. And traditionally, marketing has gone through a few iterations, but it all just looks the same dressed up in different clothes. I mean, you look at like the Mad Men era of marketing, and then we kind of have this like weird 80s into 90s like infomercial style marketing, and then we have like the early 2000s to like mid 2000s like online boom, and well, not early 2000s, but like what we've seen that has become like the digital age of marketing. It all kind of comes from the same thread, and it's just been dressed up and repackaged over and over again, and it uses the same kind of principles of marketing. And I you don't have to look far to I mean, all of you know exactly what I'm talking about. These principles that are used over and over and over again, whether it is like urgency and scarcity, whether it's social proof, whether it's big claims and promises, and these sexy like lifestyle marketing claims that we make, all of these different things, and they're all founded in specific principles that are based in like research and things that have worked in the past, and the tides are shifting and changing and they no longer work. And so I'm happy to talk more about what that means. But when we're talking about things that are unethical or things that are sleazy, we are living in a very unhealthy society. Not that I think we were ever truly healthy, but we are more unwell than we ever have been. We have more access to information that makes us more anxious, depressed, triggered. We have gone through more experiences, currently going through more experiences that make us anxious, depressed, triggered. And we don't need our marketing to do that for us. And yet, marketing is based on giving us experiences or feelings that trigger us into making a buying decision by raising our cortisol, triggering our anxiety, and giving us the false sense that we will never again have the experience to take a hold of this opportunity. So if we do not buy now, then something about our lives will either go fundamentally wrong or be fundamentally missing. So marketing is based on triggering anxiety in order to cause someone to make a buying decision. And we're getting smarter, we're getting more emotionally aware, and we're catching on. And our consumers are realizing that, well, I'm going to have another opportunity to buy this. And this thing probably isn't going to change my life. And if I really can't get this tomorrow, then I can go get it from someone else. And I probably don't actually need to spend all of that money to get this. So that was a very ADHD long-winded way of saying unethical marketing is marketing that uses manipulation, dishonesty, and anxiety to trigger a um, buying decision that is not rooted in someone's best interest, and the pendulum is swinging.
Yeah, I love that. When you gave a at our mastermind retreat, you gave a presentation that was mind blowing. I never thought about it that way. I never thought that because we've all seen the timers, the value stack, all the funnel bros that have basically brainwashed all of us because they were kind of the first people to do this, right? And so we were just copying their templates, guilty as charged, yours truly, right? Because when I was doing the online courses, I was thinking, well, that's how you sell. And I think it was through working with you and you dismantling that and making me realize it's so much better to get people to say an empowered yes than a no out of FOMO or scarcity, because you get less refund requests, you get more transformation. That's when I started to really do the work in my own business. So can you talk a little bit more about like what are some of the things that fall into this scarcity and triggering a response that we can look out for as consumers?
Yeah, and look, you don't know what you don't know, and our culture, like especially North American culture, our education system as a whole does not encourage critical thinking. And so that is a muscle that we have to turn on and like build up and practice. We have to be asking ourselves, does this actually work? If it does work, why? Is that how I want to be working? And like, does it work in the way that I want it to work? Like, I'm sorry, but if 1% conversion is the average, that bar is really fucking low. Do you know what I mean? Like these things that are being taught, like the bar is so low. What if there is a better way? And so if we are just doing what the experts are teaching us to do because they're telling us to trust them. There aren't other voices that are being spoken into. We don't have other context. We don't have additional information, and we don't have other ways of thinking. It doesn't mean that you are bad or wrong or manipulative. Those practices are manipulative. Those people who do have additional information, who do have more access to other ways of seeing or thinking or doing, that are choosing not to do those things, I would put some fault on them, but I would like to go ahead and take the blame off of the people who are just doing what they've been taught and doing what they know. And I've already forgot your original question. What was it?
It was things that fall into this
Yes.
umbrella of toxic manipulative marketing. So obviously, like I actually
Mhm.
do use timers because I do have an evergreen bonus, right? But there's things that you taught me that I, for example, don't do anymore. Like I don't do the value stack of like this is three
Yeah, yeah.
thousand
Cool, cool.
dollars, and you get this all for like 90% off.
Yeah. So, and again, critical thinking means not putting things in a binary. It doesn't mean this is always bad or this is always good. It means, what are we doing this? What are the intended and unintended consequences? Am I okay with that? So, what I want to do with our marketing is give our readers the information that they need to make a confident yes or no decision. That is the goal. And rather than leading on gimmicks, I would to me, I think the messaging should be so powerful and so strong that that should create the desire to buy. Like, what if we can just speak to someone in a way that gives them the information that they need to make that emotional connection and gives them the details and gives them the logistics that they need so that they have so much information and so much autonomy that they cannot wait to plug in their credit card. And if they are not the right buyer, if this is not right for them, if they are someone who's just going to get inside your program and complain, or they are the person who's going to buy your product and then write a nasty review, or just use half of it and then try to get a refund, they don't even end up buying in the first place, right? So, like, again, let's raise the bar. So, the things that I would prefer to leave out of our marketing are those things that are just there to raise someone's cortisol, like saying, this opportunity ends tomorrow. If you don't get this now, where is your life going to be? Would you rather have this opportunity or would you rather have this? Like those things that just don't even respect people's intelligence. Like if you see those like pop-ups where it's like, would you like to save 10% today? And then it's like, no thanks, I hate savings. Shit like that, where it's like, come on, like that, like nobody thinks like that. So, you know, yes, it's very easy to like list these things. Like I say, price stacking, where no one is going to believe. And here's the thing, I'm going in a million different directions here. Here's the thing. 10 years ago, when we were seeing this shit for the first time, we were like, wow, that's amazing. I'm getting a $500, or like, I'm sorry, this program is worth $50,000, but I'm getting it for $500. What an absolute deal, right? But after you've seen that like 10 times a week for like 5 years, you don't believe it anymore. So that's where we are. Like, your consumers are jaded, they are intelligent, they like, we are just more sophisticated. So something like price stacking, like, we're just not there anymore. The bar is just higher, right? Where we're assigning um false value when these things are not sold retail price. So we're just like making up value based on how much we think our time is worth, or how much we think we could sell this for, when we've never actually sold this thing, or it is actually not purchased at this price. Nobody's actually buying it at this price, right? And we're just making this widely inflated value for this thing, and then saying, but you're getting it all for this low price. So that's what I mean by value stacking, creating this false urgency and scarcity, where there actually are not limited seats on your webinar and there is no limited space inside your program. This is a one to many, and there is no capacity for this product, where we are not about to sell out, where there is no deadline on pricing or on a bonus or on a thing, right? Where the only point in having that countdown timer or having that deadline is to force someone to buy out of anxiety, out of not missing out, out of that FOMO. Um, when the reality is, we're already so fucking stressed that if something stresses us out more, we're just going to click out of it, and we're not going to sit there and pull out our credit card. Those big lifestyle claims saying something can change your life. We have tried enough solutions that did not change our life that we now know this is not going to change our life. Not even the 52 mood pills that are prescribed to me that I take change my life, but they do make my depression better. They do make my anxiety better. They do make my ADHD better. You know what I mean? Like, my medication does not say this will change your life, but it will say like, this will make you not so suicidal. This will make you not want to like kill your family, right? Like all of these things. So like, our programs, our products should not promise the same. We know that your PR program is not going to all of a sudden make our entire lives better, but it is going to change this one area of our business that will also probably have an impact on other things. Like, let us make that connection. Let us play Inception, right? Um, we have seen the claims and we have already disproven them with other solutions we've tried. So you making them again just discredits yourself. That, like, again, like the big lifestyle stuff, we know how filters work. We know how easy what happens when you zoom out and we see that like you're not actually at an Airbnb in Bali, but you're like sitting in front of a green screen at a hotel, right? Like, we know how this stuff works. I mean, like, we talk about it, like, Larry, like we talked about your webinar, like waiting until the very end to do the pitch and kind of making it feel like a bait and switch. Anything that you are doing that makes your reader, I mean, almost kind of the gotcha journalism, right? The things that are meant to stress them out, to trick them, to get them in the door, and then kind of try to like sneak something else in front of them. It just doesn't work. They're just
Yeah.
smarter. And the numbers will still show on the big scale that those things work. Like, yes, the people who are making millions doing this 10 years ago are still making millions. They're probably making a couple million less than they were 10 years ago, But like, yes, these things still work, but the pendulum is swinging. It is swinging, and I hear it every single day. And we see it in the market research and we see it in the numbers. So, like, if you want to be riding the wave into what's coming next, and you want to be having positive conversations with your audience, and you want to be ahead of the curve, and you would like to not be left behind and you would like to not look gross, then I highly suggest you start respecting your audience's intelligence and start speaking to them the way you like to be spoken to in marketing.
Amen, sister. I mean, just really quickly, just to give our audience a little rundown of like the changes that I've made in my business, thanks to you, is telling people at the beginning that yes, a pitch will be coming at the end to take the next step and revealing what that price is. And I think for a lot of people, this is still really kind of like whoa, like it's like why would you do that? But it actually works, and I tested it. It just felt so right, and so when you told me to do that, I did it, and like no one really left. Like maybe, yeah, a few people left the room, but most people are like, thank you so much for telling me and treating me with respect and like knowing what's coming. Right. I love that. I also love that you told me to get rid of the value stack. So I stopped doing that. And then like I just love what you said about not creating a sense of urgency from a place of missing out, right? So you can still create urgency. I don't think you're saying that urgency is inherently bad. Like we know that people want to be incentivized to make a decision, but the intention of what you're doing is has to become coming from a place of service. And we all seen the pro marketers with their jets and their disgusting bags and selling us this life. And yes, they are still making a lot of millions of dollars, but I also think they're getting like sued, and people are really upset because the claims of the lifestyle that they're selling is not really living up to like what they're tricking people into buying. So I don't really think it's working anymore. And I think if you actually look into the numbers, I bet you their profit margins are just getting lower and lower and lower because, like you said, so many people are so sick and tired of this messaging.
Yeah, well, and if you can't find the negative stuff about them, it's because they pay to have the internet scrubbed, and because
Hmm.
what their consumers don't know is that when they sign up for their programs, they sign a non-disparagement clause, and the second they write a bad review or the second they go on Reddit and say, "Oh, actually I bought their program and it wasn't very good," or "Actually I interacted with this person and they were an asshole," then that gets scrubbed and that person gets sent a cease and desist letter, like
Wait,
but
what?
but
That is crazy. I have not heard about that at all.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, I'm
What?
not gonna sit here and name names because I'm not
Wow.
interested in,
But I
but
think we all know who these people are.
yeah. But Gloria, it's really interesting. Like, I'm not here to like fully argue this point because I think that there's absolutely room for all of this. And I think that every business owner has to do what feels best for them. But like, I consistently hear this conversation of like, people have to have that deadline. People have to have some urgency and scarcity. People have to be incentivized. Marketing research still says that that is true. Psychology research does not. And we often spin marketing research as psychology research, and that is wholly irresponsible and very inaccurate. I'm not saying you were doing that at all. I'm saying marketers do that a lot.
Mhm.
You were absolutely not doing that. My husband works in the field of addiction and recovery. I would also like to be very clear that I am not making a parallel between therapy, recovery, and psychology and marketing, but I would like to share some research that I think speaks to what I how I approach my work. So anyway, he works in the field of addiction and recovery. He's been in that work for about 15 years, and him and I talk a lot about how people make changes, how people make decisions, how people make hard decisions, how people move into the next chapter of their life, and how they take hard steps. And a lot of times, and so the work that I do, that makes me sound really important. It's just marketing. It's not that important. But the people that I work with are a lot of times people who have online courses or programs or coaches, or are often selling to someone who is looking to make a change. So they are often working with someone who is looking for a solution that is going to represent a big change in their life. It doesn't even have to be a really expensive one, but it's a big change in their life. So this is getting kind of like third degree of separation. But when I am writing for my clients, we are speaking to someone who is looking to make a change. And so these are the conversations my husband and I have a lot. And my husband is a grade A nerd, is only interested in data and research and like not emotions and very, very objective. And so like I'm the one I'm very subjective. Like I feel like this. He's like feelings matter. He's very, very empathetic, but he's like, but data and research. So we talk about this a lot. So research shows that people make change faster and more sustainably. So, like, they make a faster change decision and they sustain that change when they have less pressure and more autonomy.
Mm,
And so, in the world of recovery, what this looks like, when you see someone in like a high pressure situation, like an intervention, and not all interventions are done this way, but like if someone is in a situation where their family is sitting them down and they're like, you're hurting all of us and you need to change and we don't like you this way and you here's an ultimatum and you have this or you have to get out and it's all of this, then they are going to become defensive, they are going to become resistant, they are going to dig their heels in, and they are going to um, they are less likely to enter into recovery or a action that might be better for them or their health. But when someone who might be in the middle of a substance use disorder sits down with someone who says, "How do you feel about how your life is right now? How do you feel about how things are going?" "I feel great. Things are great." "Okay, so these are the conversations that my husband and I have with full confidentiality. I just ask him to play these things out for me." Um, so it kind of goes like this. So he would say to someone, "How do you feel about how your life is going?" "My life is going great." "Amazing. So your drinking isn't affecting your life at all right now?" "Well, no, I'd actually like to see my kid a little bit more, but I can't." "Okay, so your drinking is affecting your life." "Well, yeah, a little bit." "Well, what do you wanna do about that?" "Well, I'd like to stop drinking." "Okay, so what do you think needs to change for that to happen?" "Well, I think I'd like to get sober." "Okay, so what could that look like?" And then the conversation goes like that, and typically for him, by the end of an hour-long conversation, that person has made a plan for sobriety, and with the people that he engages with, those people enter into a sobriety plan and get and stay sober at a rate that is very, very different than other sobriety modalities and therapeutic modalities. I'm getting way off track here. I can get more technical. If any of your listeners are interested, look up a modality called motivational interviewing. It is all about having a conversation style that emphasizes a person's autonomy and enters into a spirit of collaboration. But that is what I do with marketing. I am interested in having a conversation with a reader. It's obviously one way because we are writing to them. We are not having a one-on-one conversation where we are entering in the conversation with a spirit of collaboration. We are asking them to bring their ideas to the conversation, to give them autonomy and to have them make a decision that is in their best interest rather than us saying, the time is running out, the pressure is on, it's now or never. If you don't make this decision now, you're never going to get better. They will make a decision faster, they will make a more confident decision, and they will stay committed to that decision when they have more autonomy. And when they stay committed to that decision, that means you have more success stories, you have better testimonials, you have better case studies, they're spreading the word, you have better social proof, and social proof does a lot better than any copy that I can write. So I prefer to give people autonomy over urgency.
yeah, I love that so much. And I mean, there's so many things to unpack here, but just in the journey of me dismantling my own internalized capitalism and this constant pressure of like more is better, right? Which is what we're told. I've seen the ways where I've also, bought into that. And I will say that after working with you, my launch actually went even better. Like you would think that taking away all those scarcity things would not make people to make a decision, but it actually went better than before. So I am an actual like case in point of how this actually works, right? So it's like PR is not going to change your life, but it's going to drastically change the way that you feel about yourself and how confidently you can put yourself out there. And the ripple effect of that is going to be transformational in different ways. So I do love what you said about that too. It's like these big claims seem very fluffy and non-specific, but if you can really pinpoint like what exactly are they building, are they building a skill, are they building a mindset, like that's actually tangible for me. So I really do love what you said about that. um, and I'm very wary too if I'm going on someone's sales page and they make really big claims without any any specificity of what is it that I'm really gaining? Is it content? Is it tools? Is it skill set? Like what is that, right? So I really do think that. And I want to talk about testimonials because I know like you've seen things about testimonials. How do we discern like which testimonials are like actually accurate? Because everyone can have like a really great testimonial, right? But then their program is like absolute BS. So
Yeah.
how can we like as consumers be alerted to like, you know, which testimonials we should look at and how much weight to give to it?
Yeah, so it's really important to know how people perceive your messaging. One thing that we do sometimes is run user tests on either our clients' work, or sometimes I'll just do it on just general marketing to be like, how are people perceiving just marketing? And sometimes it's like people's marketing that I hate, because I just
Mm,
want an objective view, right? I'm like, do I hate this because I'm me and I just have opinions, or like, how do people feel about this? It's really, really interesting because just the average consumer. And so when you do user testing, you can kind of get down to like demographics, but not like a super, super target. It's just like women ages like 25 to 35 or something like that, right?
mm,
But like you can hear like a recording of somebody going through a sales page. Like I did this on a male marketer sales page that a lot of people would know, not someone I have a ton of respect for, but it just would represent your average, typical, traditional marketer.
mm,
And it was just fascinating. When the viewer got to the testimonials, they were just saying things that it would never have occurred to me just because I'm in this world. But they were saying, like, oh, this person was probably paid to say this. Like, how do we even know this person
mm.
was real? They probably just grabbed a stock image. And if this person is real, they were paid for this. Whereas for me, I'm like, oh my gosh, the things that I'm worried about is like, is this the average testimonial? I would be thinking the reader is thinking like, oh, this person's probably really special. Whereas the reader
Mm,
is like, this person isn't even real. Somebody made up this testimonial or this person was paid for it. Like there's so much more skeptical.
yeah.
So when we're looking at what social proof we feature, first of all, in terms of messaging, the purpose of social proof, it is proof of evidence. You are backing up a claim. When you make a claim, you use social proof to prove the claim you just made. So, on Gloria's sales page, when we say we have a list of thousands of proprietary lists of thousands of journalists that you can't get anywhere else, we're going to have a testimonial that says, I can't find this information anywhere else. I've Googled and these journalist names aren't anywhere. Or
Mm,
when we say, this is so easy to use, all you have to do is type in blah, 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 and you get a customized list, then we're going to have a testimonial that says, I spend hours trying to find these journalists and I get
yeah.
end up more confused. I have all these, right? So or when we say, uh, this like our pitching method, it makes pitching so easy, then we're going to have social proof that says, I was writing pitches for years that kept getting rejected, and then the second I used Gloria's
Mm,
method, all of a sudden we knew exactly what to write, and we started getting our pitches responded to, we started getting pitches accepted. We are backing up specific claims. We're not just making generic social, like, I got into thousands and hundreds. And when we say our clients have been featured in these big publications and we've gotten in front of millions of views, then we can have that, like, I've gotten featured in front of all these people in
yeah,
millions of
because it's
publications.
true.
Right, right,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, and yes, it can be exciting to show the potential, but the majority of what you want to show is the average of what is possible. And you really want to show what is the most likely next win for them. What is the closest minimum viable win to where they are? Where if they bought this product or joined your program or hired you tomorrow, where could they be next month? Because that is believable. If they want a six-figure business, then make your testimonials all about their first $3,000 month, their $5,000 month, right? And have a couple testimonials or case studies about their first $10,000 months. It has to be believable and they have to see themselves in it. Otherwise, it is just another reminder of what a failure they are because we have no self-esteem. We are just like buckets of water with anxiety. That is all we are as people. Um, that is what social proof is. That is what it is for. And it is highly unbelievable. So if you can have a first name, a last name, a picture, a website, anything that they can Google to prove that this person is real, if there are typos in their testimonial, leave it. Leave it. Slang, leave it. The more imperfect it looks, the more believable it is, because if they can assume that you paid for it or you wrote it or it's too good to be true or it could never be them, then they will assume that.
Yeah, we have like hundreds of screenshots, but I don't know if we should just because it kind of like messes up with the aesthetic. But I really agree with you that if it is a
Screenshots, huge.
screenshot, yeah, I rather like that than like keep it clean because I just we just have so many. So I like how you affirm that.
Yeah. Well, and like conversion rate optimization and user experience is super important on sales page or a landing page. And so it it is really helpful to have those quotes pulled out from a design perspective because they can like grab someone's eye. But and yes, like a designer can doctor up a screenshot, right? Like I please don't, that's dishonest, but like it's all about their first impression. Like what do they first think? And someone is less likely to be skeptical of a screenshot. Those are huge. And having that pull quote with an image next to it is going to like grab someone's attention as well. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I love what you said about having them have different lived experiences and see themselves because my audience is 95% women of color. So I know you know this too because, you know, for you it's such an important part of your journey and your identity too is diversity and inclusion. When we see someone's sales page or even on their Instagram and we
Oh
we
my
all know who these
God.
people are and they say, "Oh, DEI is a top priority for me." But then I look at the last 10 people they interviewed on their podcast, I look at their Instagram and they're girl besties, right?
Jesus, I mean, like, that's the thing, if you're backing something up, like, if you're like, "I'm all about, like, DEI," and then it's just like, "White woman, white woman, white woman, white woman," or like, white man," like,
Mm,
you're you're not backing up that claim.
yeah.
Um, but, I mean, that's actually something that's something I struggle with. It's something I talk a lot about, and I also know, like, I'm not an anti-racist educator. I'm not a historian. Like, it is not my responsibility to take that work away from those who are. Um, and I am someone that a lot of white people who want to do better, but are a little scared to try to do that publicly because 'cause they're afraid of the backlash. They feel comfortable coming to me and saying like, "I don't know what this looks like, can we work together?" It's like I do have a lot of, um, case studies and testimonials from a lot of white people because, yeah, part of my work is, like, redistributing wealth and writing words that put money in the pockets of people who have historically not had money thrown at them before. That's really, really, really important to me.
Yeah.
And then the other part of it is, like, helping people with large platforms have messaging that is safe and have words and community that is not furthering harm. And it's kind of, like, we have that conversation of, like, white people, like, get your white people, and I take that very seriously. Um, that's been a real mindfuck for me that I didn't initially see coming. I had to kinda look back at, like, my client roster, and I was like, "I have a lot of white dudes on here who I really fucking like, really, really like and respect, who in the past maybe weren't doing so great. They're really, really, really open to, like, listening and hearing and, like, doing something different and are really open to doing better. So I don't know, maybe social proof isn't always it's not always, 100% science.
Yeah, I love the energy that you're bringing to the table. And I also think it's about accessibility. So I think we can have our higher tier things, but it's all about like making people feel seen, right? So one of the things I did and we talked about is adding those monthly PR workshops that are like mastermind level calls at no additional cost. And I think as long as I can still make it accessible, then I still will be allowed, to do the work that I want to do in communities that I do want to that I want to work in. So I want to switch gears on my last question. Of course, I cannot have you leave this podcast episode without asking you about PR for service providers, right? So, in our PR starter pack community, we have about 60% product owners and 40% coaches and service providers like yourself. So, how has organic PR, not ads, not dancing on social media, how has it helped boost your business and the way you think about your business?
Yeah, my social media is a joke. I mean, and it always has been. Like I just don't have time or energy or cares to do it. It wasn't intentional. It wasn't intentional for me, but PR, visibility, publicity is where all of my client lead gen comes from as a premium service provider. And so that is what I teach. I teach other copywriters how to do what I do. When I started my copywriting business, which has now turned into a micro agency about 4 years ago, and very quickly knew that I wanted to do premium work. It was very important to me to do something quality and high end and work with people who wanted a premium experience. And yes, that comes with a high price tag, but it really was about providing a really high quality experience and a high quality product. And so our average client contract is $30,000, and that is not a drop in the bucket at all. But that also means that like I'm probably not going to be getting a lot of inquiries in DMs and on social media. And I've never once gotten a client of social media. I've never once gotten a client from my email list. I don't think that for like scalable offers need scalable audiences. Social media and email lists are scalable. Like when you have a scalable offer, a digital offer, a one to many offer, that is where you go for the scalable audiences. That's not what I have. I need 5 to 10 clients a year. That's all we have capacity to work with. That's not false urgency or scarcity. Like that's all we have capacity to work with. So the majority of my clients, when they inquire and we say, "Where did you hear about us?" They say, "I heard you on this podcast." And that we just kind of fell into. Like I started doing podcast interviews really early on just because I love to hear myself talk. And I just like the idea of like kind of workshopping my perspective of on my industry and what I do, and started talking about how I approach messaging and how I approach writing the launches and the funnels and our process and the research and how we advocate for our clients' audiences and how we kind of overhaul their messaging and how we do the strategy and all of that. And started getting these inquiries and would have somebody say, "Oh, I heard you on this one podcast," and then I basically Googled you in iTunes and then binged all of your other podcasts. And by the time I was done, I knew I had to inquire. So that became a huge part of our quote unquote marketing strategy for the client side of our business. So I don't have a marketing budget for the client side of our business. I've never run ads. Like I said, I've never gotten a client from my email list, not ever, not once. Never gotten a client off of social media, never in the DMs. I do podcasts, and sometimes it's through pitching. It's almost always through pitching, but lately I've been very lazy and I've been doing the very lazy pitch and just, talking to friends and saying like, "Oh, have you ever had this on your podcast?" Or, "Hey, can you introduce me to this person?" I've been doing a much more lazy pitch this year because I'm tired and burnt out. But yeah, I have been that was a big surprise to me at first, but it's what I've taught because I've learned that those premium clients, the people who do have that budget and the people who are when their priority is quality, when their priority is experience, when their priority is ROI, and they are not interested in chasing their service provider down, they are not interested in paying their team to follow up, they are not interested in late deliverables, they are not interested in just having copy turned over at the end of the day. And when they need their campaign to perform and outperform the control, and they need strategy and they need a high level partner, um, they are looking for an expert, a strategist, a partner, and they are willing to pay a premium for it. And they are not typing in copywriter in Instagram and seeing who's dancing. That's not where they're finding. They are looking for somebody who has a degree of authority and credibility attached to their name. And you know as well as I know that sometimes that comes in the form of referrals, sometimes that comes in the form of logos and media platforms, and that's as good as a referral.
I love that too, especially with TikTok, like might be banned. It's so volatile. I am, it's so funny. Like the coaches that I follow and the people I truly respect, they don't really have a lot of social media followers. So it just goes to say you don't really need social media followers to have a successful, thriving business and make impact. And the fact that you can buy like a blue check mark, it's just like it's comical, right? Because so many people are like, oh, I want to like pay to play this, and this is why PR gets such a bad rep. And this is the work I am trying to do is to dismantle all of the years of this like terrible marketing and terrible pay to play scams where it's like pay me for this arbitrary blue check where like now everyone can get it. So I'm just like laughing about that, and I'm so glad that you did take the organic route and you're not falling for those gimmicks and things that really don't maximize your time because you're busy, you're a mom, you have a business. Like I know we have much better things to do than to pray to the algorithm gods hoping that they'll like our dancing reels.
Well, and like Gloria, what you teach is just so unbelievably powerful. And it's so hard because I think so many early business owners or maybe people that are still like waiting for that big break or the thing that they feel qualifies them, which is just such a logical fallacy. Like it's such a logical fallacy, but the people that are still waiting for that qualifying event, they think that they need that metaphorical blue check mark, whatever that fucking thing is that they think qualifies them to the rest of the world. And yet every single week you have these like journalists on that are like, don't send me a goddamn pitch that tells me like that gives me your resume and tells me all of the accolades you've had. I don't give a shit about you. Tell me the value you have to offer my audience, you know? And I think it's such an equalizer. Like
Yeah.
to remember that like we don't need to have this resume. We don't need to have this like massive pedigree of accomplishments or um experience or stages or whatever that thing is. Like we just need to have something that we know that matters right now, that we can speak, like that relevancy, that point of view that we can bring to the table. And I get so encouraged listening to those journalists who are like, don't come in with your ego, because we think we need the ego, we think we've had to have earned it. And you're just saying the only thing you have to earn is like the right to show up. And great news, you're a human, you've earned it. Like your worth is intrinsic, it's there. Like you've already done it. Write the damn pitch and send it in. And I
Yeah.
think that's so powerful for people who are still sitting around like waiting for someone to qualify them. And what we're learning is like, yeah, all those people that you think you're supposed to be, we hate all those are the pitches that get
Yeah.
thrown in the
Oof.
trash, you
I
know.
love that. I think that's going to be the next iteration of the sales page that we work on is because, because obviously we're kicking the imaginary gate of gatekeepers. But I do feel like after people watch my masterclass, I got a DM the other day and someone said, I never thought I had anything to say. And then she tells me she has this crazy story about MS and like her immigrating to this country. And she's like, I didn't realize that that was like interesting or special to anyone. And I was like, that is this work that we have to do in this lifetime is like somehow we have to wait to have permission until our story feels validated to tell. Like she was like shocked. She's like, I thought nobody wanted to hear anything about me.
And then meanwhile, the journalist is like sitting there staring at their inbox. They're like, I have a deadline. Please let the next email that comes in be the interesting one, right? They're
Yeah,
like, the bias is in your favor. They're like, please,
exactly.
please be the interesting story I want to write, you know? And I think, yeah, nobody needs like the power given to them, but you're the one that's just like, if you need permission, here it is. Like the door is open, the gate is open. Like the matrix isn't real. Like things are not how you think they are. And it's
Exactly.
just context and perspective, you know, and it's so easy to sit in our bubble and be like, no, but it's this. And you're like, it really isn't. It really isn't that.
Yeah, and this is why this work is sacred. And you helped me realize that too, because I think when we first started working together, it was like, get PR for your business, like grow your business, make more money. But now I realize like this is confidence building stuff. This is dismantling years of conditioning where we feel like someone else says it better, that someone else is more ready. And I think that just opens up so much access for people who have been disenfranchised and left out of the conversation. So thank you for helping me see that is truly the work that I'm doing.
But what made your project so powerful and what made it so effective is there's Seth Godin said, "Don't make customers for your products, make products for your customers." And what that means is like, don't try to make fetch happen, right? Don't sit around and be like, "What's the fastest way to get rich quick?" Make
Mm,
a product, go on Shark Tank and be like, "Look, everybody wants to buy this." Sit around and say, "What's going on? Who are my people? What do they need?"
yeah.
And you didn't come to me and say, "Hey, how can we make all this money with PR?" You were like, "This is my successful business. This is my validated offer. Let's like go all in on the messaging," right? And so we looked and you were like, 75% of my audience is Black women. The rest of them are first generation immigrants, single mothers, like historically marginalized people. You know what I mean? Like there was no, okay, I want to jump on the DEI bandwagon. It was, this is who is there. This is who is actively there, who has already shown up, who we are already serving, who we are already helping, who is already benefiting from this work. How do we
Mm,
speak to them? And how do we make sure that those people, not those people, that sounds terrible. How do we know that the people that we are already serving know that this
mhm,
is for them? And that's how you do messaging. That's how you do marketing. And that's why your messaging, your copy, your funnel was successful, right? Because
yeah,
you said, what are we already doing? And then how do we pour fuel on that fire?
yeah.
Um, and that's how you do marketing.
I love that. Well, I'm so excited to work with you again, and I respect the work that you're doing as well. And how can people find you? Because I know they want to learn from you. You have so many things that we didn't even cover in this podcast episode: messaging, copy, headline, formatting. How can people get into your world?
I joke that I'm terrible on social media, which is true. I never post, but I am in my DM. So feel free to pop over and say hi and just say you heard me here, so I know where you're coming from. But I post on YouTube every other week. I'm doing every other week now because I'm trying to stay sustainable. Eventually, we'll get back to every week. And feel free to hop on my email list. I'm always sharing something somewhere to hop on my email list. We can like drop something in the show notes if that's helpful. But yeah, just pop into my DMs and say hi and we can chat.
Yay! So is it BrittanyMcBean.com or how can people find you?
Yeah, BrittanyMaping.com. And then if you just scroll to the bottom, you can get on my email list right there. So yeah, really DMs, YouTube, website. Those are the easiest
Awesome.
places.
We'll link it to the show notes. Thank you, Brittany.
Thanks, Gloria.